Hey folks, it's Rick Clay again here. I want to talk about the idea that people said to me, this is an environmental BRE-X when I talk about these core samples. And they think, well, that's a little bit strong words maybe, but the parallels are kind of the same when you look at it. BRE-X, a lot of people may not realize, was a gold scam where the core samples were doctored to reflect having more gold than was actually there. Of course, the stock market went crazy. All kinds of people made lots of money, and then the thing crashed, and all kinds of people lost lots of money. And when it was found out, in the end, it was all boiled down to the core samples. And this is kind of not accusing them of fraud outright or anything like that, but this is kind of the same thing in reverse. You're leaving out things that may dictate, a better picture of what's to come when the salt brine is mined out. Having such a small sample that doesn't reflect the overall amount of material that's going to come out of the caverns when they're brined out. A lot of people would say that that's doctoring it to make it look like something that it's not. Now, if they're to be fair, why don't they show us the whole core? Why don't they show us the other 3 cores? And why don't they do the due diligence and drill an appropriate amount of cores in a cavern, in each cavern site, so they have a really good idea of what's coming out? The other thing is the remediation when they run into something nasty, and inevitably they will. They assure me that they do testing, but there's no plan in place for what happens to the disposal of some of those materials if they run into a pocket. There's nothing written down. There's no plan of action for it. So there's a lot of holes in this, and that's why people say it's like BRE-X, in the sense of they're trying to gain approval for something and misrepresenting the whole truth. And I think the idea that one core sample with only 6 small pieces taken out of it shows that that's not a fair representation of the amount of material that's going to come out of there. Anyway, well, I'm going to talk about these other core samples. Again, we're going back to their pages. So we're going to go on the best case scenario. Alright? I'm going to say that the whole damn thing is all what their cherry-picked core sample is. Let's just say for that it is. Everything. Right from the top to the bottom on every core sample. If you look at their breakdown here, you'll see these little pie graphs. It's solubles. Let me just read it so I'm not making a mistake here. Undetermined solubles and insolubles. And then of course over here we have the percentage of anhydrite that's present. So let's just deal with the solubles, the undetermined solubles and the insolubles for a second. On their best case scenario, cherry-picked samples. Okay, so they vary in percentages. Insolubles, 4.2% on that one, 0.8% on that one. Anyway, let's rather than go through each and every one of them, they'll be posted. You can see for yourself. I've taken the liberty of averaging them out. So on the undetermined solubles, now this is something that they have, according to this, have no idea what it is that's going in the river. The average is 2.7%. Now you look at these little pie graphs, it doesn't sound like very much. But bear in mind that you've got 8.5 million cubic yards of material. So 2.7% of that is quite a bit of material. In fact, it's 220,000 tons of material. 220,000 tons of unknown, undetermined solubles. 220,000 tons. If you do the math on the truckloads, 15 tons to a truck. It's not good. It's a lot of trucks. So now let's go to the next one, which is insolubles. That's something that's not going to dissolve in the water. That's if it's not trapped under some other way, it may settle out in the river. Maybe they'll have a filter to take that out, I'm not sure. But it's a lot of material as well. It's about 1.05%. Now again, 1.05% doesn't sound like much, but of 8.5 million tons, it's 85,000 tons, about 5,600 truckloads. Now that is coming from their cherry-pick sample. That's the best case scenario. Now there's no study that I'm aware of that deals with undetermined solubles and insolubles. Everything that you see is salt and only salt. So there's something for you to think about right off the bat. What exactly are the undetermined solubles and the insolubles? This is in the cherry pick samples. Imagine what potentially could be in the rest of the core.